Hi, Year 11. So this is another lockdown lesson, yippee. So what you need is, you definitely need a red pen. So there's a picture of me right now with my red pen, pretending to be you. Okay, so you're going to get your red pen and you're going to turn to your exercise book where you did the work from last lesson. So the work about the nutrient and water cycle. Okay, so with your red pen, you're going to self-mark the work. We're going to pick two of the questions, so about the nutrient and water cycles, and you're going to mark your work, and in total you'll give yourself a mark out of 14. You should have stuck in your diagrams of the water and nutrient cycle for the first bit, and underneath each of those you should have a bit of writing about how the cycles operate. That was the task. So for the water cycle, you give yourself a red tick if you have done the following. So you get a red tick if you've stuck the diagram in and you've drawn a diagram, or you've drawn a diagram. There's some form of diagram of the water cycle in your book. You get another mark for saying that the water cycle has different parts. So bodies of water like rivers and lakes and so on, land, and the atmosphere. Some of you might have put living things as well, and that's fine. So the water cycle has got different components, and the water flows between those components basically. So you get another mark for saying something along those lines. Then you get another couple of marks, so for the explanation, for saying that high temperatures in the rainforest cause rapid evaporation and transpiration, and therefore it leads to high levels of condensation, so lots of clouds and lots of rain. Okay, so to get 4 marks for that bit, those are the things that you need to have written. So I'll just leave that on there for a few seconds for you to mark your work. Okay, so the next part of that question should be about the nutrient cycle. So to get the other 4 marks, you need to have stuck in the diagram or drawn your own diagram of the nutrient cycle, and for saying that the nutrient cycle is the way the nutrients move around the system. Then you get 2 marks for saying that the rainforest trees are evergreen, so they drop their leaves all year round, and that leads to a continuous supply of leaves. And the warm, moist climate means that the leaves and dead matter decompose rapidly, so it's a really rapid cycle again. You get another mark for mentioning that in the rainforest the soils are poor because the large quantities of rainfall wash the nutrients away from those deeper layers of soil. And if the nutrient cycle is something you struggle with a little bit, it talks about it on page 44 and 45 of the Green Revision Guide. And then lastly, the other question that I'm going to mark, so some of you may not have done this one, but what would happen to the rainforest ecosystem if trees were chopped down? So this is the sort of question you would get in an exam. So I've written an answer here. Obviously your answer will be slightly different, but have a little look at where the ticks are and see if you can work out where you would get the marks. So if trees are chopped down, it reduces the amount of leaves and organic matter that falls to the forest floor. This means that less nutrients gets to other plants in the rainforest, and therefore there would be a reduction in biodiversity. Okay, so that bit's talking about the nutrient cycle. Deforestation will also affect the water cycle because less trees mean less interception and more flooding. So interception is where the trees trap the rainfall, so the leaves sort of trap some of that rainfall. If you don't have the trees, you're reducing that, so you're reducing interception, and then more of the rain will get to the floor, so you'll get flooding. It also means less transpiration, which is kind of evaporation from the leaves, which could eventually affect the entire climate by reducing rainfall. Okay, so the danger is if you chop down the rainforests, then there's going to be less moisture going into the atmosphere, and that's going to have an impact on the entire climate, not just in the rainforest. So again, I'll leave that screen on for a few seconds so that you can just mark your work and then give yourself a score out of 14. Okay, and then I thought I'd just show you this. So this is a picture from 2019 when there were absolutely massive forest fires in the Amazon rainforest. Now this is quite unusual really, because the rainforest usually gets loads of rain. But in 2019, there was a particularly dry year and the Amazon rainforest experienced severe drought, which is unheard of. And people are linking this to climate change, but also deforestation affecting the local climate in the Amazon rainforest. So those of you that want a bit of stretch and challenge, you could maybe make a bit of a note about why that's a vicious cycle. So if you've got burning trees, think about what that is emitting into the atmosphere and then what that's going to lead to. So carbon dioxide from the burning goes into the atmosphere. How does that link to climate change? And then how is climate change affecting this ecosystem? So after I've gone through this, you might want to go back to this slide and write a little bit about the link, because that's a really high level geography understanding about how it all links together to climate change, and it's a bit of a vicious circle. Okay, so this one, it's kind of up to you here, but this is the learning objective for today. So we're going to understand why the rainforest is referred to as natural capital. The next part of the learning objective we'll do next lesson. So natural capital just means why it's of natural importance, but why that natural importance actually is quite important for the economy as well. So basically, the rainforest has environmental assets. So that's things like the fact it regulates our climate, the fact that, it causes a lot of rainfall in that part of the world, and it stabilizes the whole global atmospheric circulation. It's got natural resources like oil, and obviously that leads to a lot of money in some places. It provides ecosystem services, so it provides a lot of food. 80% of the world's food originates from rainforest plants, and so obviously that's a social benefit, but also that makes people a lot of money, so that's capital. Ecosystems just in themselves, and that links to biodiversity and the fact that 50% of all of the world's species live in the Amazon. So what you've got on this slide, on either side, all the bullet points, are loads of positives or loads of kind of reasons why the Amazon rainforest can be referred to as natural capital. And you could either just list some of those reasons in a spider diagram, or if you want to challenge yourselves, you could try and link those reasons to the kind of categories around the flowchart in the middle. So you can see I've done a couple. So oil links to natural resources, and the ability to feed the world's growing populations links to ecosystem services. Some will link to more than one. Some you might find it's tricky, but it just gets you thinking. So I have put a copy of this slide for you to print if you want to. So the key thing is, what is natural capital? Okay, so this is the website that you're then going to go on and basically work through the tasks on the website. It's really good. There's a few little videos, and then there's questions once you've watched a video that you're going to answer in your book. This is just taken from that website. So this is amazing, really. So many of our drugs that are so important for really, really horrible illnesses such as cancer, leukemias, malaria, glaucoma, which causes blindness. Nearly all of these medicines come from rainforests, and there's so many that haven't been discovered. So even with this coronavirus pandemic, who knows whether a cure for coronavirus may come from the rainforest. So really interesting thing that some of you might want to explore a little more about, the kind of medicines that come from the rainforest, and this slide is really useful, but it's also on the website that I've put. This is just an extension. If you finish everything, you can have a little look at this video. There's a link on Show My Homework, but we will be talking about why on earth are we actually chopping it down? If it's so important to our survival, to our life, to our economy, then why are we chopping the rainforest down at a rapid rate? So when you've finished, what I want you to do as a summary is design an A4 page in your book, kind of a summary revision page, poster if you want. You could draw pictures, print pictures, bullet point, do word art, whatever you want to do, to explain and summarise why the rainforest is so important and why it can be referred to as natural capital, which then links back to the learning objective. Okay, if you've got any questions or you're not sure what you're doing, then just ask, but hopefully that all makes sense, and I will see you next lesson.